Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, the daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastubadas. Welcome to the show, everyone. We're here live with Miss Mara, spinning the dials. Thanks for everybody for joining us on Zoom. You too can join us on Zoom. Just email Miss Mara. She'll give you the secret codes to get in. Is there an easier way to get in the Zoom thing now with the new website?
I think if you become a supporting member, then you get into Zoom also.
Well,
That's
yeah,
it.
Go
Okay.
back to Udi's nodding.
Harder to get in because we thought of making it only for, grandfathering people that already come in, but then saying like to get into Zoom, you'd have to be a member. But
You got to jump the
we haven't done
fence
that.
there.
Yeah, I think if you go to our new platform, wisdomofthesages.com, and join, then you can get the Zoom codes.
Okay. You got to join. Okay.
The platform.
The platform. That's what people call it nowadays. Join our platform. Good morning, Kostuba. My son left. He drove this pilgrimage back to Alachua. It was sad. Mara made him a goodie box to go. I woke up early to say goodbye, and Rocco is heading back to Alachua. Let's all say a prayer for safe travel. Hare Krishna. Mara, what's the latest?
We have back to recovery group meetings at noon and 1:30 today. And tomorrow, Josh Kane's offering his Cult of Kane asana class at 10:30 a.m. And also, we're going to India. Join us for our sacred pilgrimage, October 17th through 31. There's still spaces.
What did I tell you yesterday, Mara? You got to make these things sound exciting. We're going to India. The holy places, the dust of these places can surcharge your life.
Go to Raghunath.yoga for more info.
Yeah. It really does. It really changes you.
Yeah.
Remember your first time?
Yeah, transformative.
Was it?
Yeah, absolutely.
You just saying that now because I sort of shamed you? Announcement shamed you? Or did it actually change your life? People talk about it. The first time I went to India, I was just like, okay, life will never be the same anymore.
Yeah.
It's powerful. And who knows where it's going to be like in 10 years? India's developing. Everything's developing rapidly, but India's really developing. So if you went this year and 10 years from now, you're going to be like, remember 10 years ago when India was like this? We're in a good place right now. Let's take advantage of it.
Okay.
You never know when they change laws too, Kostuba. They might be like, sorry, Americans can't go to India. And you're like, what? That happens all the time.
Could happen.
Yeah. Someone just told me. So someone from China tried to go with me, and they're just like, they can't go. The Chinese can't get visas to India.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Anyway, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Ready for a nugget, sir?
I am. Who's it from?
James Baldwin.
James Baldwin.
Hmm.
What can you tell me about James Baldwin?
Well, sometimes they call him Jimmy.
I don't think they did, actually.
No? Okay.
He was an American writer and civil rights activist who garnered acclaim for his essays, novels, plays, and poems. And his 1953 novel, Go Tell It on the Mountain, has been ranked by Time magazine as one of the top 100 English language novels.
Really?
Yeah.
I know nothing about him.
Now you know a
Did
little.
you? Did you?
I mean, I knew about that much. I've never
Yeah,
read
okay.
any.
Well, that's pretty impressive. Okay, so here's what James Baldwin says. Hatred, which could destroy so much, never failed to destroy the man who hated. Ooh. And this was an immutable law. I'm going to read that again because it's important.
Nice.
Hatred, which could destroy so much, never failed to destroy the man who hated. And this was an immutable law.
Immutable.
Immutable. Unchangeable, right? Immutable, Mara?
Unchangeable over time or unable to be changed.
Yeah. It's I personally had to pull back from watching any And people can criticize me all they want, but I know my mind, and I think our minds are like very precious, and what comes out, especially if we're in a position of influence where we can, our actions, our thoughts, or the words that come out about our mouth have a ripple effect. But I had to pull back just from news. It's become so hateful. I walk away from the news becoming angry.
Tell me how you feel, Raghunath, in your body, in
In
your
my
mind,
in my butt.
internally. What is that experience like for you?
It's like a shutting down. It's sort of like, first of all, it's not finding a commonality. It's like searching for what's wrong.
No, but now hold it, Raghunath. I want to go internal because we're talking about the immutable, that like that it destroys the person that has it.
Hmm. Want to hear
So,
how I've been destroyed by it?
well, no, you've avoided it, but you've obviously felt something coming on.
Yeah. Bart on the message board agrees with me. Can't watch it. Hey, if you can watch it and you can do, if you can watch it and consume it and do something good with it. But once I find that it's turning me towards hate, I just like, it's enough. And how does it make me feel? It just makes me almost like curmudgeon-y, depressed, walk around with it makes me feel hopeless. Like, what is this world getting to? You know, here's the deal. It's like this world's done some horrible things for generations, for millennia. Horrible things have been happening. They used to tar and feather people. You know what that does?
It hurts. It hurts a
Oh
lot.
my God.
It's humiliating.
It's First of all, imagine I've cooked and spilled oil on my hand. Ever do that, Mary? You're a chef. You have.
Yes.
It's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine tar. First of all, when tar cools, it hardens. So unless you can get it off, it's going to harden on your skin. And then
it's
they
got the
feather you
feathers.
on top of that?
That's just insult to injury right there.
That's like insult to injury. It's a hard, and they've been doing horrible things like this for millennia. It's not a new thing. They've been doing horrible things forever. It's a cruel, cruel world. I don't really want to go to skinning people alive, but they've done that too. Take back the mic, Kosuba. You asked how I feel. I feel horrible after
Well, I did a little research. Sorry, you're probably feeling even worse right now, just talking about it.
I do.
But
Lucky I'm not tar and feathered because you're still alive. You're just walking around with feathers.
yeah. I mean, why not just make the person wear a bird suit for a few days and like leave it at
Yeah,
that?
like
Right?
yeah, you better wear this bird suit or you're dead.
Then there's chicken out.
Really want to do this to him for the rest of his life?
Yeah.
What are you looking up, Mara?
This is from medicine.net website, written by one medical author named Rohini Radhakrishnan.
Good name, Rohini Radhakrishna.
Both ends. And you know, a lot of this isn't like the article's based on. I saw a lot of research out there, and it gets into like, you know, the different areas of the brain that are triggered by feelings of hate, and it analyzes that kind of thing a lot. This is kind of just like a.
This is why you were asking me, how do you feel, Raghunath?
That's right. Well, yeah,
you were trying to get. I get it.
We could talk about how hate affects the people that you hate, and socially the problems that it causes. But now we're talking about like for the individual.
I like this better.
You like that angle?
What is hating doing to you? Like, what is it?
Here's just a little introductory study. Hate is a feeling of intense hostility and aversion, usually deriving from fear, anger, or a sense of injury. It is extreme dislike or disgust. Hatred is an emotion. Extreme hatred can inspire violence. Hatred is a feeling everyone has felt and experienced at some point, especially after being betrayed or hurt physically or emotionally by someone. It is normal to have hateful feelings occasionally. However, feeling hatred over a long time, and I think this is what a lot of us are doing, right? Feeling hatred over a long time and holding on to hate. And this is what we do voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
It can be detrimental to the mind and body. Hate can breed more negative emotions. It can affect personal and professional relationships. Hatred changes the chemistry in the brain.
Wow.
It stimulates the area in the brain responsible for planning and execution of motion. This part triggers aggression while feeling hateful to either defend or attack.
Mm.
This also creates fight or flight responses and increases the levels of two hormones, cortisol and adrenaline.
Hmm.
These hormones can cause weight gain, insomnia, anxiety, depression, and chronic illness. You
Wow.
know, Americans, yeah, we got a problem with, there's a weight problem in this country. And we often talk about our diets, and definitely our diets have a lot to do with it. But maybe this has a lot to do with it too, these 24-hour news cycles and just watching these networks like all day, which a lot of people do. They just
It's
leave that thing
criminal.
on all
It's
day.
actually criminal. It's like
It's
junk
brutal.
food for the consciousness.
Yeah. Hatred also triggers the mind to try to predict what the person's being hated may do as a defense mechanism.
Hmm.
This leads to further anxiety, restlessness, obsessive thinking, and paranoia, which affects overall mental health. Hatred negatively impacts the nervous system, immune system, and endocrine system. Extreme emotions trigger the release of stress hormones in the brain. Over time, these stress hormones lead to increased inflammation throughout the body, resulting in significant health consequences. The more intense an emotion becomes, the more physically demanding it is to contain it. Holding on to hate can be exhausting and can cause involuntary clenching of the jaw and grinding
Yeah.
of the teeth.
Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
it does to me. I clench. My whole
Yeah.
face clenches.
I think, a lot of us are kind of like stuck there, like, through large portions of our day. And we can't and then we're taking pills to kind of try to relax and to sleep,
Unclench.
relieve the pain. You unclench. You're going online and buying different things so that we're not grinding our teeth down. You know, so James Baldwin is saying that he's trying to say that it can destroy so much, and certainly it does. But one thing it never fails to destroy is the
The
person
hater.
who's holding that hate within themselves.
Yeah.
And so, from the yogic perspective, it's the yogis are doing what most people don't do so much. They're looking at their own mind. They're observing their own mind. They're very conscious of of how the programming in the mind is playing out in their life experience, and with the idea of not identifying with the mind, but observing it, and then hopefully through yogic practices, readjusting it, resetting it, reprogramming it in a way that it's fully positive and progressive and healthy, and can lead to still much higher levels of accomplishment or gain than a materialist even thinks about. But just on the very basic level, if we've gotten, if we're unaware of the kind of the type of hatred that we're voluntarily hanging on to, maybe we're even proud of it, maybe it makes us feel better than others, and so we hang on to hatred.
Mm.
It's really internally destructive path. And there's really for us who gather together and read Bhagavatam every morning, like as listeners of this podcast, if we really want to take bhakti to where it's meant to go, we're going to have to address it. We're going to have to identify it. We're going to have to see how it's dominating my thoughts, distracting my concentration on where I really want to bring my mind.
I like that. I can share a problem, my problem.
What's your problem?
Well, I got problems. I got problems, baby.
What's going on?
It reminded me, like, when I was a raw foodist, 20 years ago, I was a raw foodist, and I could do raw foods
How long
really well.
did you live as a raw foodist?
As a pretty much like 99% raw foodist, like about a year and a half, and then I did like a high percentage of raw.
Twinkie?
No, not like that. I was super clean. I would do salad. I would do steamed vegetables or something like that.
All right, yeah.
But then I went into like a high percentage of raw. But I could do purely raw, but it was hard because if you ate anything cooked, it would somehow drag you down a slippery slope. And so I think media is like this. Media is this type of like news media is like mud. And if you go in a little, just say, I just want to check in with stuff. And what I find, and I'm not going to say this is an absolute for everybody, but what I find is it's a slippery slope. And the way YouTube works and these algorithms works, it just drags you deeper and deeper and deeper. Next thing you know, you're sitting in a mud pile like a pig. And if you sit in mud, you're going to get dirty. If you sit in mud, you're going to get dirty. It's going to build up the mind. It clogs up the mind.
Let
And
that one
God is
down, man.
right there, right next to you. God's right next to you. And it's not like God hates us when we become hateful. We have this thing like God hates us if we sin. You'll hear people say, God hates you if you sin and God's unhappy with your sinning. It's not like that. When you sin, God still loves you. It's just like you're just choosing to turn away from God. God's still right next to you, right there for you, but we're just turning our back and we're indulging in the stuff that's taken us down. And that is junk food for the consciousness, junk food for the soul, junk food for the mind, and like spinning us around on that. What are those lazy Susans? We're facing God. We can look at God. We've given the holy name, and then we've just done an about face. And now we're facing towards all the muck. And this stuff is addictive. And we got to start to notice this, how the mind gets addicted to the nonsense. In the same way, it can get addicted to the healthy, to the healing. Each one has a ripple effect, how it affects our next choice. What do you think about that, Kastuba?
I would take it even one step further, Raghunath.
Yeah, do that, and then I'll take that and another better step further.
Then you'll just accept it.
I can do that one better.
No, but not only is it junk food. I mean, in one sense, you could say junk food is poison, but it's actually like poison, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to just kind of waste our mind away on trivial stuff. But it's another thing when it's actually fostering a feeling of hatred and we're embracing it and we're marinating our consciousness in.
Ooh, I like that.
Marinating.
You hear that, Mara? Marinating your consciousness. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you're
keep
marinated in these feelings of hostility. It's ignorance, and it's entirely counterproductive to yoga.
to what you want to become for the most part. Because all of us here listening to the podcast, oftentimes, we know what we want to become. We know the direction we want to move. And that is counter to it. That's like I ate healthy all day, and now I'm just going to have a huge.
And you
Whatever.
know, what we're seeing play out here in Bogota again and again is there'll be instructions in how to practice. We've been reading about how to practice as a householder, how to practice as a renunciate, how to practice as a young renunciate student, you know, like all these different things that come down. But they keep bringing us back. You know, it'll instruct us how to do ritual. It'll instruct us to do these different practices. But it always keeps coming back and pointing out that this all is important in how it plays out in terms of how you relate to other people. You know, it always is meant to grant us a vision of God within our own heart and God within the heart of every living being in a feeling of spiritual oneness or spiritual unity based on that vision. They're all driving towards that. And so hatred, this kind of party spirit that goes beyond just party spirit and becomes actual like intense animosity, it's entirely counterproductive. And it not only and those feelings going on in the body, all of that anxiety and jaw clenching and all that we've been talking about, or that these medical experts are identifying, that's your body telling you that this stuff isn't good for you. You know, that's your body saying, hey, stop marinating in hate. You know, you got to let go of this, or you're suffering.
Get ready for this election cycle. Don't let it make you hate.
Yeah, I mean, we're in it now.
Wherever
right?
you're at, you know.
The intensity is going to turn up over the next couple months.
I feel like it's already turned up, and I'm going to pull back. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to lean into Krishna. I'm going to lean into bettering my mind. I'm going to lean into physical health. There's so many interesting things to learn and to study than all this nonsense that you're not even getting you're not even getting objective truth anyway. You're getting some spin.
Yeah.
It's like if there's a divorce in a family, you're just hearing one side anyway. And with all their vitriol, with all their hate, you're hearing that side.
You know, and we've talked about this before, but I was just thinking about it just yesterday. say we have that tendency, it's kind of, it will culture a tendency of aggressiveness towards others, hostility towards others, encountering it with aggressive behavior. It may even just be conversational, right? Like we speak about people in aggressive ways, or we interact with people, in aggressive ways, let's say through dialogue. And we become accustomed to that. It becomes our, it has our feeling of identity is tied to it. That I'm right and they're wrong and I can defend this, and and then we get attracted to yoga, we get attracted to bhakti. And then we don't, we may, it's certainly in the early stages of our practice, we may stay at this early stage if we're not careful for a very long time, even lifetimes. But in those early stages of the practice, those tendencies are still in us, and they just transfer into the world of bhakti. So our tendency to be hostile, to criticize others, enters into the realm of bhakti. And now we're directing it other, now we're just finding things to argue about.
It's like going
we need to be defending, and we need to be tearing someone else down. Now we're doing it. Hey, you're wrong about
you're taking your,
whatever.
I call it taking your bad habits into sacred circles. Or if my father used to gamble with pennies with his friends. I used to watch that as a kid. You lost big, you lose like 50 cents, right? But you go to Vegas.
It seems like a big amount, but it's not so much.
Yeah, you're playing in Vegas. You're playing with big chips. It's a $5,000 chip, right? It's a $10,000 chip. So when you start making these same offenses that you made in the material world, sarcasm, taking people down, digging into their shortcomings, really looking for their shortcomings, you take that into sacred circles, you've destroyed your spiritual life. I don't care how long you've been around. I don't care if you're a swami or a guru or anyone in a high position. Once that you've adopted that mindset, once you bring those habits, we've seen it happen. I tell you, we've seen great people leave Krishna consciousness because they couldn't give up this one habit, which is feeling like everything, and this person is so bad. It's overlooking all their good and just going towards their bad. And letting the whole world know how bad they are. Be super duper careful.
All right.
Huh? Yeah. Warning?
Okay, little Thursday warning on the show today.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaivan rotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudire. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should have respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nutyam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmadatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 7, Chapter 15, Text 1. It's a new chapter entitled Instructions for Civilized Human Beings.
Yeah, last chapter of this canto.
Civilized. Interesting, huh? What? Wow, last chapter of this canto. There's a big word, civilized. We throw it around cheaply. The Vedic teachings have a whole interesting perspective on what civilized is, and it's got nothing to do with like putting your elbows on the table. It's got to do with whether you can regulate your senses. Let's say the animals can't regulate their senses so well. Humans have the ability to or not to regulate your mind or not to regulate your mind. Great topic.
Okay. So we ended the last chapter hearing how the householder is supposed to engage in sacrifices, giving up something, voluntarily with the goal of uplifting their own consciousness and uplifting others. And, worship was spoken about, and worship of God in a temple was mentioned, but again, it kind of directed that more towards seeing God in people.
Mm.
And part of what we can do is kind of recognize that in people and make offerings. And the brahmanas were kind of established as these. There should be some people in society that live simply and have deep spiritual realization, are kind by nature, and are kind of live for the benefit of others. That's what a brahmana is doing, right there. And those people should be recognized, and it's auspicious to support them, to respect them and support them. That act, the very act of doing that, not only kind of not only maintains a social kind of order by making sure that those people don't just fizzle out, that we support, that we financially support that side of society, but also that it really benefits the giver to be thinking that way, to within their own mind and heart, kind of holding sacred people, and cultivating that through their actions and through their words and so on. So we're going to continue in that vein here in this next chapter where it starts.
Okay. This is text 1, and this is Narada Muni speaking. My dear king, some brahmanas are very much attached to fruitive activities. Some are attached to austerities and penances. Still others study the Vedic literature, whereas some, although very few, cultivate knowledge and practice different yogas, especially bhakti yoga. Text 2, a person desiring liberation for his forefathers or himself should give charity to a brahmana who adheres to jnana nishta, or impersonal monism. In the absence of such an advanced brahmana, charity may be given to a brahmana addicted to fruitive activities, or karmakanda.
Okay, so he's saying that even these brahmanas, we should have some discernment about who they are and where they're at, right? And we should be searching for the ones that are really elevated. Now, Bhagavatam is generally not even dipping into these areas, right? Jnana and karma, we're transcending all of that. We're transcending the desire, the karma kanda, the karma division of the Vedic literature, which is all about cultivating material prosperity. We're not interested in that. And the Jnana kanda, the part that's there about, written about cultivating renunciation and letting go of the world and transcending the suffering of this world, we're also not even interested in that. We're interested in divine love, which is kind of a synthesis of the two. And but here it's, Vishwanath Chakravarti comments on these verses because that would be the question that comes up with someone studying this. And he's saying that in the householder stage, well, I'll read exactly what he says. He says, it's mentioned here that the householders desiring liberation should serve the sannyasis because the subject of liberation is also included in these last 5 chapters. Though those practicing pure bhakti should not perform karma, the devotees who are householders are included when discussing karma and jnana because they're living in a world where these things are there, If you're maintaining a family, on some level you need to maintain some material prosperity. And if you're dealing with the sufferings of that, you need to address that too. But he says, however, but by performing these actions of karma through appointed representatives, just as Bharata or Ambarish did, to preserve the normal social standards, they do not produce obstacles to bhakti. So this goes back to what we were discussing, like last week, where like the householder, it's not like they're constantly confronting people to rise to a higher level. They're kind of working within the world that they're in, They're kind of accepting, but always having that internal bhakti understanding always operating in the background. So, you as a bhakti yogi, you may be, particularly in this Vedic society, you might be asked to perform a ritual for your forefathers, right? And you're doing it according to the priest that's there, and it's meant to help them become free from, that they won't take a negative birth in their next life or whatever. And you're doing that, but internally, what you're really thinking is, may they be connected to God, may they find divine love. Externally, you're You're going along with the social norms. Those, not everybody's going to understand that. And these social norms are helpful and progressive for society. But internally, as a bhakti yogi, you're reaching for something deeper.
Text 3. During the period for offering oblations to the demigods, one should invite only 2 brahmanas. And while offering oblations to the forefathers, one may invite 3 brahmanas. Or in either case, only 1 brahmana will suffice. Even though one is very opulent, he should not endeavor to invite more brahmanas or make various expensive arrangements on those occasions.
Okay. And there's a reason given for this, that it's mentioned that if many relatives are invited, the respect to the forefathers will be overlooked. No, when you get too many family members together, you get distracted.
Oh, yeah. It's a big Italian fiasco.
You lose the focus, I guess, is what it's saying.
If one arranges to feed many brahmanas or relatives during the Shraddha ceremony, there will be discrepancies in the time, place, respectability, and ingredients, the person to be worshipped, and the method of offering worship. Yeah, it's a little less formal.
Mm-hmm.
When one gets the opportunity of a suitable auspicious time and place, one should, with love, offer food prepared with ghee to the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then offer the prasad to a suitable person, a Vaishnava or a Brahmana. This will be the cause of everlasting prosperity.
Okay, we're not talking about the material prosperity here. Everlasting prosperity means in the spiritual realm, right? So now Bhagavatam's saying this is the more important thing, right? Give people good prasad. That'll take us onto the spiritual level.
One should offer prasad to the demigods, the saintly persons, one's forefathers, the people in general, one's family members, one's relatives, and one's friends, seeing them all as devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, there's that vision.
That's the vision. That's the vision we're supposed to have, huh?
Yeah, the vision of the bhakti yogi, right? How we're seeing everything in connection to that root. That's what we're cultivating.
And that's I think, beautiful about people who are into spreading the message of Godhead, spreading the message of this personality of Godhead, spreading the message of Krishna consciousness is we're not looking at people as, oh, you disconnected jackass. You're saying, here is a pure soul, and they don't even know it. They think they're this, a religion. They think they're a materialist. They think they're a Republican or a Democrat. They think they're American. They think they're black or white or a particular gender preference. They're holding on to that identity as self, and it's cheating them out of the joy. It's making them lean into their tribal consciousness where I'm like this and they're like that, and my people don't like their people. And we're helping them remember what they already are. And that's what we are. Everybody on the show, we should be thinking about, how can I give this to somebody else? And we do it not in a condescending way. Like sometimes we might have been preached to, either maybe within bhakti or maybe with the street preacher or something like that. We've been preached to in a condescending way. We don't want to condescend. The idea is what we're spirit souls, and we're in a process of waking up. And part of us waking up is to assist others, to remind them what they are. And so we go into that relationship as, I see this person in general, one's family members, one's relatives, and one's friends, seeing them all already as devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are devotees. They just forgot.
I noticed that it's a great point, Raghunath, and I noticed that Achyuta on the chat board, he asked, in relation to our discussion about hate, he said, what if you're feeling hate involuntarily? Like it's in you and you don't want it in you. Mm-hmm. You know it's not good for you and you want to let it go, but still it recurs, destroying your peace of mind. Mm-hmm. Is there a technique that can be applied to change this? And I think this verse speaks to that. I mean, of course, we could say right off the bat, identify what's stirring those thoughts up in you and refrain from it. And you were talking about, minimizing news coverage and stuff like that. But here, this idea, there's 2 elements here. If we were to take text 6 and say, okay, Achyuta, here's a way to kind of counteract feelings of hate within yourself. It's kind of addressed in 2 ways in this verse. One, it says, seeing your relatives, your friends, your family members, people in general, seeing them, cultivating a vision of them as devotees of of God or connected to God, right? And that we do through hearing, that we do through reading Bhagavatam and discussing these things. So like that's a standard daily kind of dose of medicine to that. But then it also takes it a step further. It goes into one's action, right? One should offer prasad to them, right? One should feed them, actually serve them, you know. Prasad distribution, I tell you something, it's really one of the most.
It is very powerful, huh?
It's a very powerful thing. It's a you know, if you look at all the different yoga cultures, none of them stress prasad distribution like the bhakti path, right? It's actually it's a very large an important part of our practice. You know, when
There's the
Prabhupada came here,
Eucharist in Catholicism, the Eucharist, but that's
there's
sort
the
of like
Eucharist, but
you're
it
not going to
doesn't
pass
quite
out
have the
lots of
same
Eucharist,
appeal.
and the Eucharists are not delicious.
Well, did I ever tell you that story about Prabhupada and the Eucharist?
No.
I heard this story that when Prabhupada was in L.A. and he was meeting with, you know how he would meet in his room there? He'd be
Yeah,
sitting
with the priests
at
or
a low
anybody.
desk, yeah, and there was a priest there, and then and then a group of his own disciples were gathered there too. So they're all together in the room, and the priest was like blown away, like. Imagine the LA Temple in 1974, something like the place just exploding with
Packed.
enthusiasm and
Yeah.
young people just
Young
giving their life
monks giving their
completely.
life.
Yeah.
And the priest is like, why isn't anybody joining the Catholic Church in
And
1972?
and the temple used to be a church, right? So
Right.
you come in as a priest and you say, this used to be our building. Now
Right.
it's their building. And the priest said to Prabhupada, he was very open-minded, good-hearted priest. And he said, I'm so impressed with it. All the young people are losing interest in our church. But you have all these young people and they're just so enthusiastic about giving their lives to God. How do you do it? And Prabhupada said, well, I believe, and the thing was they were feeding gulab jamuns to the guests. And so the priest had eaten one gulab jamun and really appreciated it. And gulab jamun, for those that don't know, is this very unique creation.
Read my book. You'll learn all about gulab jamuns.
It's almost like it's made out of powdered milk.
Yeah.
That's then deep fried in a ball. And
then soaked in Aunt Jemima syrup.
And then soaked in syrup. It's kind of like a milk pancake ball.
Yeah. Spongy. Wonderfully spongy.
Right. It's just the texture is fantastic. It's absolutely delicious. So this priest was like really appreciating. And Prabhupada said, in response to that question, like, how do you get all these young people so enthusiastic? He said, well, I understand in your church you serve this wafer. He said, replace the wafer with this gulab jamun.
Body of Christ. Amen. Put the gulab jamun right in their mouth. The body of Christ. Amen. Then you put your hands out. I prefer it in my hands, Father. Okay. Gulab jamun in your hands. Amen.
Yeah, that's when they would really need that. You know how they would hold that little plate underneath you.
The dribble plate.
Yeah.
The golden dribble plate they put under you in case you drool.
Yeah, that they would really need it with the gulab jamun. But it is a huge part, this cooking and offering of prasadam. But if you look at Prabhupada's instructions about distributing prasadam, he's got reams of stuff on that, in his letters and so on. And when he came, to New York, very first thing he did was just kind of start training up people in how to cook. It's like the experience when you came to his program at 26 Second Avenue, the very first storefront little temple, was you'd come in there, you'd do kirtan, you'd talk about Bhagavad Gita, and then you'd have this incredible spiritual food.
Sure.
And that's the standard kind of method for practice.
It's such a powerful thing. Like I know yourself and myself, you just walk around India, you'll go by some temple, you're going on a parikrama, you're going to a holy place, and then somebody will be like just distributing a pot of khichdi, simple stuff too.
Yeah.
But it's something about getting food that, first of all, giving food, but the food is also prepared consciousness by a special person, right? Who's thinking this is an offering to Lord Vishnu.
Yes.
And then they're distributing that to you. And there's some type of exchange from the giver gets and the receiver gets. And if you've ever done prasad distribution, I know we have a big bunch of listeners who are listening today from the Philly crew that do prasad distribution, and they do it in places where people are actually starving, not just anybody. It's very, very appreciated. But it's something also happens to their heart. And I've also heard people who are sort of like not devotees, but friends of mine, and they'll just go, yeah, I go to that Govinda's restaurant in Los Angeles, and I've been to a lot of vegan restaurants and vegetarian. There's something about the food. Now,
Yeah.
you and me, before when we were teenagers, and people would say that there's something about the food, we'd always be like, they put something in that food. They don't put anything in the food.
Put in
There's
the
no
love.
drug in the food. They didn't sprinkle some magic like mind melt drug. They put love in the food, and that's what you're tasting. That sounds crazy, sounds far-fetched, sounds metaphysical and woo-woo. That's what it is. And you feel it. You feel like these people care about me. And we should get in the habit of when people come to our house, how can we feed them prasad? Not just feed them prasad. Food that's cooked with love.
And I'll feed it to
love.
anyone, right? I'll feed it to the one that I feel hate for, especially them.
Yeah, that's how we started this conversation.
Yeah.
Give prasad to the people that you hate. If you go, she's just saying he's struggling with what's he called, inner hatred towards something or somebody. I always back to that point. Although all this prasad stuff was great, but back to that original point. But enough of it. Now I'm hungry, actually, Mara. But I think I pray. My way to deal with when I'm feeling that surge of hate for somebody, you pray for the people that you're really resentful of, and in the praying for those people, it's sort of like it's like a judo flip for Maya, because Maya wants you to hate. Maya wants to keep you in the material world.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, okay, you want to hate, I want to hate. Okay, how about praying for them? How about praying for their success, their good fortune, and their deep spiritual connection?
Always one of my favorite sections of the Bhagavad Gita is in the 13th chapter, where it's being described, trying to find that Paramatma, trying to find God within your own heart. And after it describes the different methods and ways, describing the Paramatma and then the way that people find Paramatma within themselves, then it says, let me try to find this here. One who sees the supersoul accompanying the soul in all bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the supersoul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, they are actually seeing. Right? Everybody else is blind. These are the people that are seeing. And then it says, one who sees the supersoul equally present everywhere in every living being does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus he approaches the transcendental destination. And that hatred, that's like the worst degradation of the mind. That's where we really lose it. That's when our heart is entirely out of alignment with the heart of God. And so the yoga is always really cultivating that feeling of God within their own heart, because that's exactly what will prevent them from feeling hate for others, or will facilitate their feeling love for others. But what you said, Raghunath, about love being cooked into the food, do we have Stacy here with us today, Stacy?
Stacy Cabrera?
Because she is. Her brother is Perry Farrell, right?
There he is. Unmute.
And
Hey,
he.
Stacy, how are you? You're getting asked to unmute, Stacy.
Oh, you're gonna okay. Let's get Stacy.
Good morning.
Hi, Stacy and George. They're OG listeners of Wisdom of the Sages.
He put on. He first, after he did Lollapalooza, he started this other festival. I forget what it's called.
Enid.
Thank you. Yeah, and he held that in New York, in the New York area, and he asked all the devotees from the Brooklyn Temple to come and cook for that.
Yep.
And then I remember he was on MTV, and he was saying, this is what we're doing at this festival. It's special for this reason and that reason. And he said, and all the food is going to be cooked and provided by the Hare Krishna devotees. And when they cook in the food, they cook love into the food. And when you taste it, you'll feel it. I remember he said that. And so it is kind of like something that people can really perceive,
Yeah. I don't know if this is even the time, but like when I was talking, Raghunath, we were talking about it, is Perry he became famous. He started to do really great things, introducing great things to lots of people, sharing love and kindness and honesty and all of the things that we talk about. And but in the last 10 years has become, I don't know who he is. He had tons of plastic surgery. Physically, he changed his whole look. He has become completely like, everything is like, look at me. Like,
It's a hard world, that fame. It's
yeah.
I think that's when we were having that conversation with Radhika. I really wanted to unmute you there, but we sort of flew by it. But that's a whole nother interesting topic of dealing with the, or how we always say on the podcast, good karma can ruin your life. And, because he's done that type of service, prasad distribution in a very focused way like that, what he did, and basically changed the destination of so many people by distributing prasad. And with the very I remember him coming to the Brooklyn Temple. Whatever he's going through right now, the fish hook of bhakti is caught in his heart, and Krishna's got some wonderful plan for him. So we might be seeing him going through some personal hell, but he's in the devotees' prayers, and Krishna's not forgot all that service that he did. But we should also worry about our own good karma as well, because good karma can ruin your life. Fame is a very powerful energy, and unless we be able, and we might think we're really above all this stuff, and then if things get dumped on our lap, Stacey, you probably witnessed things like that. All of a sudden, he goes from like, he's my brother, and now he's like a superstar celebrity, and that stuff can happen on a dime, and people can't handle it, and that's understandable. It's like telling a junior electrician to go up and start work on, starting work at 3 Mile Island or something like that. It's just
this is my conviction that Krishna's opulences, right? We say there's 6 opulences.
Yeah.
Knowledge, fame, wealth, etc. We can't handle very much. He can handle them unlimitedly. When we get even a little bit of one of them, a little too much of one of them,
yeah,
we can't handle it. Give us too much wealth, we can't handle it. Give us too much fame, we can't handle it.
Guy compliments my beard the other day. I'm like, whoa, my beard.
Yeah, give us too much beauty, we can't handle it. Give us just even a little bit is too much for us, And so when people become famous, it can be tough. But let's try to get him some prasadam. I think that's the answer here,
Yeah. And even when we hear stories like that, all we do is reach out in love. We're not like, the guy was never sincere. We just want to reach we want to reach out in love and see what everything that they have done. But anyway, Stacey, thanks for sharing that. I got
to share one thing.
Oh, okay. My video cut off for a second.
You want to say something, Stacey?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I really hope you're right, because he has like, I saw something online with him, and he was talking about how he was playing chess with his son, and how he feels like his son doesn't really want to be around him, and so he's trying to connect with him by playing chess.
I do that.
But those are new, that's something new that I know. And I was like, wow, like, because he's turned himself into someone that he thinks he's up here, and all of us are down here. And there's something, and he does have special things happening, but I do hope what you said, Raghunath, is that he hears the prayers, that the prayers get to him, because I cry. I get very sad, and George will tell you of what he's turning into, and his wife. They call his wife Yoko Ono.
Because let's not get this personal.
Let's not get too personal.
Yeah. Well, no,
I understand.
The only thing is because she's pulled him away from everybody, and he's allowed it. Unfortunate.
A lot of distraction.
A lot of distraction.
Sure.
Maybe, Stacey, why don't you try this? Why don't you get some, we'll figure out how to get some high quality, beautiful prasad. And just without any expectation, just send it to him. Say, I love you, I care about you, and just send that prasad over there.
Miss you.
Know that it's got love in it. And just see what it,
Hey, I got this prasad from the Toronto temple or something like that. I was thinking about you today.
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
send
When you
that on
go,
over.
if we go in with this, with no judgment, because judgment makes people recoil. Love makes people open. And you got a lot of love. I know both you guys. You're both a very loving couple. And we don't know what would happen to us if we were in such a situation. So witnessing this, we pray and we try to connect with love without condemnation. But I have deep, deep faith that people who've offered and made a contribution to bhakti, Krishna is using their karma now to crush their ego, and it'll come somehow. And when that ego is crushed, there's nothing left to turn to
Open up.
except Krishna. Krishna will give it, he'll take it all away, and then the person's going to be left, wow, what a phantasmagoria, as Prabhupada would say. Material world is a phantasmagoria. And it's like watching like a Star Wars film. It's like, wow, 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 wow. And all of a sudden it just crumbles. Everything crumbles, and you're left there with Krishna. It's a very beautiful thing, and he's going to use his karma in the same way he's using your karma, your ups and downs, your good fortune and your loss, and everybody who's going through it in the material world. You're not alone out there. Krishna's going to use everything that you're going through to bring you closer and closer. Right now, some of us might feel, I'm so far from Krishna. As long as you render that service to the Vaishnavas, render that service to Krishna, he's got you on a long line. And at any moment, he's just going to reel you in, because Krishna cares also. He's not just like this deity away from us that we love, and he's sort of like just nonchalant. Krishna is reclaiming us in the same process.
And he's doing it through the prasadam.
I have a friend, a very spiritual friend who I haven't seen in a long time. And I know he has like a taste for kirtan, but he's not, I wouldn't call him a regular Hare Krishna, but he just sent me this message. He goes, and I just reconnected with him. And he's just like a guy of integrity that I just like resonate with this guy. And so we went for a walk the other day and just had like a nice spiritual conversation. I wouldn't even say a Krishna conscious conversation, but he's listened to our podcast a few times and likes it. And then he sent me this message. He goes, I just took my family on vacation, got an Airbnb, and there's this beautiful picture. Like he opens the door and this is just beautiful. I can't remember if it was Radha and Krishna or Shiva and Parvati. He goes, Raghunath, it was like some type of miracle.
There in the Airbnb, it was a altar
there
or
in the
something?
Airbnb, it was a beautiful, Bridge Bossy painting of deities when he walked in randomly. And so here's the deal. You take a little step towards Krishna, he takes 1,000 running steps towards you. And sometimes we're turning away from Krishna. And it's like Krishna says, okay, if you were ever a fisherman, you let the slack out, with the drag out on the line, and you let the fish think he's free. He's not free. The hook's been set. Anytime Krishna can reel us in. And that's what Krishna does. But he wants to exhaust us in the same way the fisherman is exhausting the fish. And then once we give up with trying to enjoy the material world, then he reels you in. Right?
With the prasad.
Yeah, reels you in with a gulab jamun on that fish hook. Fishing with gulab jamuns.
That's the bait.
I'm like swimming after the gulab jamun.
Okay. All right, we got through before
Made it.
Raghunath lost it.
Oh.
Got through the show.
What verse did we get to? 7?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get to 9 today.
Yeah, well, nine was the verse about hate, but we'll get there tomorrow.
Okay. More hate tomorrow.
More hate. We'll be back with more hate tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it was important topics.
It is.
Oh, Miss Mara, what did you take away too? It seemed as if you were just knitting, but
No, I
here's
had
a
a lot of
long
takeaways.
list of takeaways.
We're lucky we aren't tarred and feathered.
Oh,
That's for sure.
that was a hate-driven kind of thing behind that. I mean, there's other ways to reform people.
Who do they tar and feather?
Did you know that the most
That happened recently?
Well, 1981 was the last.
Someone
Yeah.
was tarred and feathered.
In America?
Yeah, in our country, according to the
No.
internet.
Who they
Like legally?
No, not legally.
Okay. I was gonna
legally?
say,
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
like a mob type of, you know what I mean? Like
a mob
really?
thinks they tarred and
vigilante
feathered someone.
justice.
Vigilante justice. First of all, where do you get a boiling thing of tar anymore?
Does the tar ever come off?
No.
I think
Ever.
they use
With-
solvents
with butter-
to get the
butter,
tar
I
off,
heard.
and then the solvents damage your skin also.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
man.
Would you chase a guy around with a bucket? A hot boiling bucket of tar?
We
How
got-
do you do that? I can't even figure out how you would tar and feather.
Well, you got a guy tied down and
Where did you get all
handcuffed,
the
whatever.
feathers from?
Oh, come on.
Where do you
just
get
rip
the
open a
feathers
pillow.
from?
You got the feathers.
Well, I think part
I
of the
guess-
reason they did it was that it was like easy to have a bunch of feathers and some tar. Like it's
Yeah.
not as
Yeah, well, it's like an old world
yeah, it's from the
type of
12th
torture.
century.
When feathers and tar were like, everyone had a pot of tar on the stove back then.
All right. Hatred makes us sick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. It makes you sick. Sick in the head.
Sick of it. Sick of it all.
That's what my mom would say. He's sick in the head.
If you sit in media mud, you're gonna get dirty.
Play in the mud, you're going to get dirty. How about that? Boom.
Media mud. We're media mud. And you're going to get dirty.
We're live at the Mud Club.
For the mud
Ever
club
go to the
tonight.
Mud Club?
I never went to the mud club. I kind of slightly overlapped with it, but never went there.
I went there once. Went to the Mud Club.
You see Flipper or something? What was it?
No, some nonsense.
Don't marinate the consciousness in hostility and ignorance.
Don't say it again.
Don't marinate the consciousness
I like that one.
in hostility or ignorance.
Marinate. Ah, this tastes like hostility. Mm.
It spices of
Ugh.
hostility.
What's in this?
Anger.
What's in this marinade? A little
Resentment.
ignorance.
Anger, a little hostility.
I taste a little anger.
little condescension.
Yeah. Oh, it really brings out the flavor of the condescension.
Bringing bad habits to sacred circles will destroy your spiritual life.
Oh, yeah.
You're in a special circle now. You be careful.
Yes.
Pray for those you hate to judo flip Maya.
I don't know if that's appropriate to say. After I said it, I was like, do we want a judo flip? We want a judo flip illusion,
Hatred.
but hatred, but we don't want a judo flip. Maya's a goddess, right? We don't
Oh.
try to crush
Prabhupada said we're at war with Maya sometimes, so we can. There's
war with
precedent.
Maya.
It's precedent to
Okay, judo flip Maya. On his order.
Maya Devi.
We
I think
can
we call that
barely-
The illusion,
There's a
not
picture.
So much the
Now-
goddess.
Now Road Rage is gonna have a picture of me flipping a goddess on AI.
We can barely handle even a fraction of Krishna's opulence.
I can't even
handle it.
handle. I can't
So we
handle.
Better not
a
to want it.
Mm.
Just let him have it and be attracted to it.
Yeah, I can't handle a fraction of a gulab jamun any longer.
I can't even
That's
handle
how bad my
luxury anymore.
digestion. I used to go through about 4 of them a meal.
Judgment makes people recoil. Love makes them open.
Huh.
Yeah,
Judgment, recoil, love,
Love
open.
open.
Did Raghunath say that?
I did. I
Nice,
just made that one on the spot. God spoke through me.
Nice.
Thank God. Thank God for that one.
There you go.
I don't know
Don't
where it
take
came
credit.
from.
You won't be able to handle it.
I cleared the ego, and God just came out of my mouth.
Okay.
Get reeled in by prasadam
Yep.
and replace the wafer with a gulab jamun.
Replace the
There you
wafer with a gulab jamun. Booyah.
go. Boom.
That's how you're going to do it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hey, if you haven't got a copy of my new book, From Punk to Monk, you can get it on Amazon. It'll get delivered maybe today, because that's what Amazon does. But if you want to get a case to give out to people that you love, DM me or Mara, and we'll get you a case at cost. Just pay for the shipping.
Put some glove jamins in there.
I'll pack some gulab jamuns in there as special gifts. And if you have the book and you like the book, I want you to go to Amazon and write a review. It makes all the difference in the world. Go to Amazon today after the show and say, you know what, I'm going to give a little review and tell it, you can even say, I listen to the podcast and I like this something, say something nice about it. I'd appreciate that. Go to 5-star. Thanks for everybody. And if you're not following Wisdom of the Sages, here's how you can help us. You go to YouTube, you follow us, you like it, you comment, and you share it with someone you love. It really makes a difference, especially if there's an episode that you like or you think was touching, that you think will benefit someone sitting on a fence out there. Do it. And if you'd like to be a contributing member to our platform, please join our Wisdom of the Sages platform. Give a monthly contribution. That's how this thing survives. It's a community-supported podcast. And a big thanks, a big hug, a big gulab jamun for everybody who supports us. We're very, very grateful. Woo! That is all, my friends. Thanks, Stacy, for sharing.